Hi, so welcome to the fourth video in the series, and this one is all about exploring your triggers, which is one that I really enjoy. Okay, so the first thing we'll start talking about before we get onto the triggers, I'm sure you know triggers are a very intense feeling or an uncomfortable feeling that you might have. But before we go there, I want you to think about, as a child, how often were you encouraged or allowed to actually feel your feelings? And often we'll know this by how we respond to the feelings of the people around us. So if you find somebody's getting angry and you're like, just stop being angry, or your child is acting up and you're like, what's the big deal? Often those are the things that we heard as children, and it's all we know now. It's in our nervous system. We were speaking about limiting beliefs. It's in our limiting beliefs. So we act off of those beliefs. So often we were told things maybe like, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about, calm down, why are you being so angry, sent away when you were acting a certain way, come back when you've calmed down, come back when you can be happy again. And often the message that's sent to us is, what you're feeling is not okay, what you're feeling is wrong, you need to change it. And now when we look into the research, the psychological research of feelings, feelings are so important, and our feelings are there for a reason. So if we look at that reason, what is that reason? The reason we have feelings is to communicate a message. And that's the same with your children. When your children are expressing feelings, they are trying to give you a message. And the more we try and stop those feelings, the less that message actually gets heard, and the more they may act out or repress things, just like us. That's what ends up happening. So what are triggers? They're a big emotional response to an external experience. So something that's happening outside of us is making us have a feeling inside of us, touching that nerve, causing that discomfort. If you look at social media, if those of you who are on social media will see people arguing every day. I don't know about you, sometimes I scroll through the arguing. I'm interested to see people's perspective and why they have to argue so much on social media about politics and religion and anything and everything, actually. And when you look at it, what they're really doing is trying to defend their beliefs and trying to make sense of their external world. And in a way, they are communicating a need that is not being met. So we'll talk about it now. Your triggers are yours. So it's just like what I'm saying now. Your triggers actually have nothing to do with the people outside of you. And I know that might sound weird, because we might get triggered by a mother-in-law, triggered by a friend, and we feel like it's those people. And we'll go and we'll talk to people about it and be like, jeepers, that person's bugging me so much. But have you ever told somebody, like, person A is bugging me so much, and person B says, no, I don't find them that annoying. And how annoying is that? Because you're like, but how can't you see how annoying they are? And meanwhile, it's got nothing to do with the external people and everything to do with yourself and the reason for that emotional response. And once you find the reason, like I say here, you can take responsibility, which makes it so much more empowering. Because when we take responsibility, we get control. Now we can do something about it. When we don't take responsibility and we blame and we gossip and we talk behind people's backs, which we all do, it's our way of dealing with emotions that we don't know how to deal with, but it's not getting us anywhere. It's like traveling round and round in circles. We'll talk about it all day, which is just not very productive. It's not going to help us grow. So, like I said here, triggers are holding up a mirror. They are holding up a mirror to your feelings and to what you need to work on. And when you start seeing it that way, everything around you becomes a lesson. Instead of it irritating you, which it might still, it's not to say it's going to disappear, but it irritates you and you say, why is this irritating me? Let's figure out why, because it helps you to go through those limiting beliefs. It helps you to figure out what you'd like to work on. So I'll give you an example. When I started Ripple Effect, over the first few months, maybe year, there were quite a few people discrediting me or telling other people that I didn't know what I was doing and who does she think she is. There were a lot of people who enjoyed what I did, but I didn't choose to focus on that. I chose to focus on those who didn't believe in me. And it really worked on me, and I would talk about it over and over again. Why would this person not believe in me? And it hurt me, and I felt betrayed, and it was hard. And again, I was speaking about it. So externally, I was taking it as something on me, and I was talking about it to my husband and to my friends, and how can I solve this? Must I go speak to this person and sort it out? And when I started looking at it as a mirror that was being held up to me, I realized that it bugged me so much because I didn't believe in myself. So then I realized, great, now I can take the power on. I've got the control. How can I believe in myself more? Not to show them how good I am, to prove to myself what I need to prove to myself. So I started doing more courses, and I started learning more, and I just started believing in myself more with every person that I worked with. And the more I did it, the more it didn't matter what anybody else said anymore, because I believed it, and that's all that mattered. Not to say it disappeared completely. There will still be times when I question it and I doubt, and I think, I don't know why that person doesn't believe in me, but I'm starting to learn that's just, again, showing me, you're not believing in yourself right now. What are you going to do about it? So that's one way to look at it, and it can be a very empowering way, but it can be a big mind shift as well. Okay, so what do we do about the triggers? The first thing to do is to just figure out what they are. Just be aware of what is triggering you in your environment. You can even sit one day, it's in your activities, sit one day and just think, how many things trigger me? People, experiences, situations, social media, all the things out there, what about it is triggering me? Once you've done that, you take that step back and look at it more as a mirror. You say to yourself, why is this triggering me? Forget what everybody else is doing. You're not going to change them. What can I do to take this on as my responsibility? Then you look at the reason for being triggered, and finally you start coming up with more empowering responses. So you can start thinking, well, if it's triggering me because I don't feel good enough, I need to find ways to feel good enough. And then when somebody does something like that, sometimes your response does start to change and your emotions start to change, and it really can be so empowering. So I hope you enjoy the activities, and I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes.